Welcome back. My name is Jay Oza. I teach, mentor, and coach people on public speaking so that they can get winning high stakes speeches, whether it's for a job interview, a business or sales meeting, or even at a conference in front of a lot of people. The book writing tip I'm going to give you is a simple one. What are the 5 steps that you need to know before you embark on the project of writing a book? Now, a lot of people think of that book writing is just book writing. No, there are 5 steps that you've got to know. And I'm kind of going through these steps. So some of them I'm not an expert on right now, so I can't go deep into it because I haven't done it yet. But I'll tell you the 5 that I've identified. And I believe you could break it down into some of these parts, but I'll give you the main 5 parts that you've got to know. You've got to know this ahead of time. Because if you don't know this ahead of time, you are going to spend a lot of time and then get frustrated that, hey, nobody bought my book and nothing happened. So first step, obviously, is to write the book. That's where you're going to spend a lot of time and come up with ideas and write it or speak it. Now, I can't speak to that part because I haven't done it. So I wrote my own book. A lot of people who are busy want to write a book, but they can't. So they'll just speak, record it, and then somebody will come in and clean it up, edit it for them, or write it for them based on the recording. So they'll speak the book, and then they'll hire somebody. There are places like Book in a Box or something like that. They do that, where you will just, like, let's say you're a professional doctor, lawyer, businessman, and you want to write a book, but you don't have time, or maybe writing intimidates you, or it's just time consuming, and you just would never do it. So then you basically will record a book. They'll record what you want to say. They'll interview you. It's almost like you're giving an interview. Like, tell me your story about how you got started, what are different parts of it, something like that. And they will record it, and then they'll take it, clean it up, make sure it's your voice, and write it for you. Okay, so they'll write it, then it'll go through an editing process, etc. But if you're writing your own book, the first step is the writing part. It took me a while, probably 2 years to write my book. So if you're writing it, you got to come up with the process. And I covered that in one of the videos where what I do is I recorded all my thoughts on my audio recorder, and then I will turn that into maybe a video recording like what I'm doing right here. From that, maybe a blog, a small, short blog, and then from blog I can expand it in my, I'll have all the references in my Evernote or Google Docs, so that if I want to turn it into a book, I'll expand that blog for a book, right? That's my process, which I didn't learn, but I learned it now, kind of late in the game. That's how I would write a book. So I went over that in one of the videos, so go back to it. I think it was the first video on this book writing series. Okay, so that's the book writing. Got to write it. And you'll go through multiple drafts, and during that phase, you may want to send out a chapter to a beta reader to get feedback. And there are a lot of different testing you'll be doing, right? So that's a different, out of the scope of this particular video, but that's the process you'd go through. You write the first draft, go through it, second draft, third draft, and it could be many drafts, by the way. It's your book, right? So the book writing is done. At some point, you're going to say, okay, I think I've got the final draft. At that point, you turn it over. Okay, so here's another thing. You can have a content editor who will determine whether the content you're writing is good. And that's part of the writing process. So let's say at that point your content is solid. Okay, so you will at that point go with the beta readers and perhaps a content editor to firm up your content. Okay, once you've done that, you'll have a final draft based on the feedback you receive from the content editor, and you'll finalize it. That's kind of what I did. And then you will hire a copy editor. Now, copy editor is very important. That is like one of the most important part about writing a book. And you got to find a good one, okay? There are a lot of people masquerading as good copy editor. You're going to have to test this out. And that means that they're going to nitpick on the entire book like it has never gone through. It's almost like taking English 101, the first essay you write. It's going to come back with all kinds of comments and stuff. When I submitted my first draft, the copy editor came back with 650 bubble points, bubble comments that I had to go through. Now, some of them were pretty straightforward at formatting and stuff, but some of them were really very detailed. So I'm just letting you know that's what the copy editors, but you have to completely submit the entire draft. It's not piecemeal. And so at that point, you're happy with the entire document as far as you're concerned, and you're going to send it to the copy editor, who will take the entire document and will, at some point, he or she may let you know that this part is a little confusing. Can you fix it? That's fair. But he will then give you the entire document edited with that many bubble comments that you then have to go through and go through it. What I did was I didn't go through each. What I did was I took a completely clean version because I didn't want to see all the things that I had written. I took a completely clean version and read it. And if it looked okay, then it didn't bother me. So I read the entire thing with the bubble comments, and I looked at the clean copy. That's the way I did it. You may want to do it in a different way. And then the book at that point gets edited. I then told him some of the changes that I had to make. The editor made the changes, then go through another iteration. So there were probably 2-3 iterations that I had to go through. Okay, so that's the second part, the editor. That could take quite a bit of time, by the way. It could take about probably like a month and a half if you want to do it well, depending on the size of my book. Maybe if it's a shorter book, it may not take that long. So that's the second step, the editing. Very important. There's nobody there to help you. You got to do it. Okay, the third phase. Now, some of these could go on concurrently, but probably not. And again, I'm not sure there is a right way to do this. Some of it I'm learning. So the third phase now is the publishing. Now, this is where you need a book cover. You got to design the book cover. You can hire somebody to do that. Then you have to lay out the book. Okay? And this is where you have to make a decision where, in my case, indexing becomes very important. It's a nonfiction book. So what I'm going to be going through is the book is going to be laid out, designed. The book cover is designed. The back cover is going to have to go through some work. I'll get it back from the designer. Then the editor, who I also hired to do the indexing at an extra cost, by the way, just so you know, that's not part of editing, that's additional cost. He will append the ending based on the page numbers with the indexing, the back, and then at that point, the book is laid out. And then it enters into the proofreading phase. So I consider that part of the publishing phase. So in third phase, you got book design, you got book cover with copyright notice and all that. You got to have a marketing page, the acknowledgement page, and dedication, table of contents, all of that stuff, right? About author and indexing, bibliography, all of that is part of that has to get done. That's part of the writing actually, but I don't know why I'm including it here. The main part is the copyright, the marketing page, and the about author. And then the author part, abbreviated one, needs to be in the back of the cover, okay? And then you could have blurbs and other kinds of stuff, testimonials of all sorts, okay? In my book, I don't have any blurbs because I'm just running out of time at this point to go through that. Then at some point, the book will be done using CreateSpace in my case, so that people can then, so it'll go through a galley phase where I'll get galley copies for proofreading. And at some point, the book will be done for CreateSpace. Then I'll get the Kindle version done from the same place that I've hired. So I'll have the Kindle version and I'll have the CreateSpace. The hardcover can be done also, okay? So that's the publishing part, that now the book is available. Then you move to the fourth phase, which is marketing. Now, marketing is something I cannot go deep into because I'm just learning this phase. But marketing is a very important part. There's no point in writing a book if you're not going to market it. And a lot of it you're going to have to learn on your own. Now, hopefully, watching this video, as I'm learning, I'll tell you what I'm doing so that you can do it too. So I'm moving into that phase from publishing to marketing soon. So then you do marketing, and I'll, like I said, in the future videos, I'll tell you some of the things I'm learning about marketing, what's working, what's not working, and there's a lot to do here. That you can, people hire other people to do it, but in this one, this is my first book, I want to learn it, so I know exactly. So a lot of things in marketing are just simply bogus. They just don't work, and I don't want to go through that. Okay, so then you go through the fifth phase, the final phase. The final phase is the most important, in my opinion. Each of them are important, but the final phase is the one where if this doesn't work, then all you've done is you've just written a book. and whether somebody buys it or not, may buy it, may read it, but you have a book. That's all you have. But it's the fifth one that's the most important. That's the monetization part. How do you take a book and monetize it? Look, if I've spent 2 years on a book and then I've gone through this editing, gone through this publishing and all that, I gotta get something out of it. Otherwise, all the effort is gone for nothing, right? So the monetization is very important. Now, monetization of a book, you have content. You own that content. And assuming that you're also self-publishing this book, it's yours, right? You can do a lot with it. You can turn it into booklets. You can create a course. You can go on a speaking tour. You can use the book to speaking. You can do consulting. You can do coaching. So there are tremendous opportunities available once you have that content. That content you own. Now, I can't go into this in detail because I haven't gotten to that phase. But those are the 5 phases that I just wanted you to understand before you embark on this book writing journey. So let's go through it again. First phase, the book writing. You've got to do it. You've got to write and slog away. And if you want to if you have time and you really have an interest, start writing. And I already went through this in the first video on the process if you want to write it. That is, I think, very efficient. The second phase is the editing. You kind of have to find a good editor, content editor, copy editor, and then at some point a proofreader, okay? Third phase is the publishing. This is a book cover, book design, and loading it up into CreateSpace, Kindle, all that stuff, hardcover, and the audio part I haven't thought about it yet, but that's also part of it, okay? And then all the different outlets. Now, I'm not going to go into foreign and all the translation and all that. That's kind of beyond the scope of this video, but that's out there too. I don't want to give you too much if I haven't done it. So that's the third phase. Fourth phase is the marketing. How do you get the readers to know about you? Now here, you can go on radio, you can go on podcast, you can use social media. Again, all of these things I can't tell you too much about because I haven't done it yet. So I don't want to just throw it out there without giving you my spin whether it's working or not. And then the fifth phase, obviously the most important. How do you monetize this? This is your content. This is your intellectual property. Figure out how to monetize it. And again, I'll go into this more as I get closer to that. Okay? So those are the 5 phases. So now you know, before you start writing a book, and this is for nonfiction. I don't know much about fiction, but at some point I'll write a fiction. I'll discuss it. But right now I can't because I don't know much about it, the whole process. So if you're thinking of writing a nonfiction, these are the 5 steps you got to think about right from the get-go, okay? And I will discuss more of it to save you a lot of pain based on what I've gone through so that you don't have to go through that. But these are the 5 steps, and if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or criticism, let me know. Thank you for watching, and good luck with your book.